Welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker. It's the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate. And it does it with the host, Barb Schlinker, owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Now, Barb, most home sellers believe that they should leave for showings. What are the top 5 showing mistakes that agents do to home sellers and how you should avoid them?
Well, Richard, I think first of all, I understand that the buyers need to physically look at the home to make a decision as to whether or not they're going to buy it, with some exception. If they're out of town, sometimes I'll have their agents go do a little FaceTime video with them. Occasionally those take place. However, it is you're in somebody else's home. It's a courtesy to be able to go into someone's home and take a look at it. And I think they're expecting you to leave the home like you found it and secure it for them. But we have a lot of problems in that one simple task. Most buyers would actually prefer to view the property without most buyers and their agents would prefer to view the property without the homeowners or pets or kids or whatever being present, because it is a distraction if you've got somebody there. There are some sellers that will walk them around and pitch it to them or share all of the flaws with the house. Either one is not a good thing. If you have to be home, it's okay. Just say, hey, I'll go in the garage, I'll get out of your way, I'm sorry I can't leave, and go from there. And try not to hover in that case, and tell them you'll be available for questions. But that's something that makes most listing agents a little bit nervous. Like if I'm there and I'm showing a buyer, and the seller is home, to me, if I am representing the buyer, that's my opportunity to casually get intel about the motivation for selling. Okay. And so I will ask some questions. Hey, are you moving out of the area? They're not supposed to tell me their motivation for selling, because the buyer might get some information that will indicate that, they're desperate to move or something like that, right? So that's why usually agents don't like buyers and sellers being in the same space, because there could be information exchanged that will share motivations to give one party or the other an advantage in the negotiation. However, if they're properly coached, it's not a problem. They don't have to say anything about their motivation or anything like that. But if you have any questions about the property, I'd be happy to answer them. Some sellers will disclose all of the faults in the property. Some will disclose, they might pitch it too hard, and that could be a little bit much. And generally, the buyers just want to go in and kind of, for lack of a better word, feel the house and see if it's a place that they can visualize themselves living in, right? And most of them don't want to be distracted by that. Plus, they want to openly talk about it. However, this is not their time to, rifle through people's stuff. It's okay to open cabinet doors, because there are some cabinets that have the built-in pullouts, which are convenient or whatever. That's reasonable. And they're a little bit uncomfortable if the seller is there, if they want to make comments about their experience in the home. And you have to expect, if you're a buyer and an agent showing a home, you could absolutely be on camera, or either video or audio, right? Right, Richard, when you think you're going into somebody's home, that there's going to be a camera present.
Absolutely. And, until we talked about it on the program, I didn't have it on my radar. Now it is on my radar all the time, whether I'm inside or outside of somebody's home. I want to make sure that I'm not saying something that a person is going to hold against me, or that it would be inappropriate in any fashion, because you're right. There's probably a camera somewhere.
Yeah, and people don't think much about it. And so then we have caught these agents on camera trashing the property in front of the buyer on video right there by the Ring doorbells, like, duh, hello. Or they'll say, oh, it's not worth that much. Oh, it won't go VA financing because it has a spec appealing paint. Or is, whatever they're saying. They're trying to position themselves as experts but they have to think about it before they do that, right? It's not up to them to disparage the home. They don't know if the buyer likes the home. They haven't said anything about it yet, right? And they're out there saying, I'm the real estate expert and I'm going to tell you what I think of this house. But what if they love it? So don't say anything, answer their questions, but don't try to impose your views into their mind and kind of poison the well, like tell them, well, it's not worth that much. So if they want to make an offer, they're going to make a low offer. And that might mean that buyer doesn't get the house, somebody else does. So I think it's a huge mistake and you got to be very careful. And unfortunately, we see it all the time. We see it on video. My clients tell me about it. They know all about it. They're paying attention. And many times with these showings, these agents, the first time they meet them is at the front door, right? They don't know if they can buy a couch on Craigslist. They don't know what they're looking for. Sometimes they don't know anything about the house. They're just door openers. And if it works out for them, great. I hate to say that, but it's unfortunately true. And so we put in our instructions, hey, the buyer's agent's responsible to verifying that the buyer has the financial ability to perform. Whether or not they're going to do their own due diligence and find out what the buyer is looking for, I don't know. I can't tell them how to do their job. I wish I could, but I really can't. But if they're coming into my client's house, I think it's reasonable to ask, hey, we're not going to let anybody that wants to come see it in. It's got to be people that have the ability to perform. And Richard, 81% of the agents sell 3 or less homes a year, and we have over an 80% turnover of real estate agents every 5 years. So the training is constantly going on. The lack of expertise and experience is constantly going on. So you have to expect some surprises during showings. I actually didn't get formal training on how to show a house until I was 10 years in the business. And to be honest, most brokers don't offer any kind of training on how to show a house. So sometimes they just kind of mess up on the showing equity part. Here's an example of messing up on showing equity. Using the toilet without asking, or, using the toilet and not taking care of, the mess, letting kids roam unsupervised. Recently, I had a seller that said, hey, it is obvious that their kids were bouncing on my bed in the master bedroom during the showings. They were there for an hour. They left crumbs on the kitchen counter. That's kind of weird. Tracking mud or snow into the house, all that kind of stuff takes place. I had one showing a couple years back where the agent left the back door wide open. So I didn't know about it until the next morning, early, like 7:30 in the morning. I get a call from the neighbor saying, hey, I just want to let you know the back door was wide open. Do you want me to go over and close it? I said, it's okay. I'll be right over. I'm going to check on it. And, they had closed it. I locked it. There was popcorn on the floor. They'd used the toilet. I mean, it was like, really? This is what, quote, professional agents do to show homes. The other thing that's super, super frustrating for home sellers is if they don't secure the property. So this just happened right before Christmas, where an agent set a showing on one of my higher end listings. They showed the house. They opened the lockbox, right? And there's a key in the box. And then when they left the home, they did lock the front door, put the key in the box, left the box wide open with the key sitting right there. So anybody could have grabbed the key and let themselves in, with the correct combo in the box. It's like, and so I get this, email from the client going, really? They left the key sitting there wide open for everybody to see. And I'm like, oh my God. So that's the kind of thing that happens all too frequently. The doors aren't secured, or they set a showing and then they forget to cancel and don't show up. Showing up late, showing up early. Recently, I had somebody show up 30 minutes early. That was after me telling the buyer's agent, hey, there's some preparation involved with the seller before the showing. They have to get the dogs, get them out, and they show up 30 minutes early. So they're scrambling, to get ready. It's just, come on, be respectful. If you're going to do that, call and ask. Don't just show up and think it's going to be okay. That's the kind of stuff I have to field complaints of all the time. I've also had agents actually change my lockbox code so no one else gets in on the hot properties. I've had them fail to leave the house when asked. It is crazy. My name is Barb Schlinker. I'm the host of this show, Your Real Estate Voice. I'm also the broker owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Barb has the buyer's team. And when we come back, we're actually going to talk about how you can avoid agent showing nightmares. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice. That's Barb Schlinker. She is your real estate voice. You can reach her at Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. The number is 719 301 3900. And we're talking, Barb, about moving. What are some agents showing nightmares and what can home sellers do about them?
Well, one of the things, if the agents are messing with the lockbox, and they do sometimes, they'll change the combo on the final walkthrough, and now the whole combo box just has to get thrown in the trash. They do stuff like that just to be vindictive. But you have to worry about it doesn't happen very often, but theft could possibly happen during showings, right? We know that these agents don't necessarily vet their buyers. So they don't know who they are. If they met them for the first time at the door, they don't know if they can buy a couch on Craigslist or they just want to check through the house. So make sure all of your valuables are tucked away. Any prescription drugs, any alcohol, any weapons, everything has to be made safe because it could happen. The other thing that you want to make sure that you do is once you've already got a buyer and you go under contract, get your agent to change the combo box, right? Because they already have it. We don't know if they're going to give it out to the inspector. Sometimes they think it's perfectly okay to do that, and that has happened before. Another thing that happened, I got this beautiful listing in a very high-end neighborhood from a home seller, and he had hired another agent. The agent got a request to show the home. So the agent met the buyer. The seller was home. This particular home had a safe room. Now, I never got to see the safe room, even though I was the ultimate listing agent that sold it. But during that showing, the buyer only wanted to see the safe room. They weren't interested in the rest of the house. So the seller kind of took note of what the buyer said his name was, and he looked it up right after he left. And sure enough, the guy had just got let out of jail.
Oh,
So, we know these agents don't vet these buyers, even though we request that they do it. They get so commission drunk, they don't even think about it. They're just like, oh my God, oh my God. So you want to make sure that you're prepared for that and make sure that you have a good first impression, put music on, make sure it smells nice, looks nice, ready for showing, and be prepared for every single showing. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice. It airs every Saturday at 11 o'clock. And if you're thinking of making a move, call Barb Schlinker at 719 301 3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. Barb, you've got some hot new listings coming up. You're excited about them. Tell us.
As always, I have a beautiful home on 6153 Nash Drive down in Fountain, priced in the low fours. Another Fountain home in the upper threes on Sneffels. A great home on 40 acres on Powers Road out east in the wide open prairie. A beautiful two-story in the mid fours down in Fountain on Lavanya Place. A new home hitting the market here next week. Beautiful home on Pastime Place in the upper fours. And then a great home that backs to open space on Weeping Willow in the low fives that has a solar system. Beautiful condo on Smoke Tree in prestigious Briargate in the low threes. An gorgeous home in Fountain on Brundage. This home's getting all kinds of new stuff put in, including carpet, flooring. It's got new furnace, new roof. Fabulous home on Cunningham that has an RV garage, plus a massive detached 2-car garage and a half-acre lot. Gorgeous home on Palma Valley in Glen Eagle, priced in the upper sixes. Fabulous home on 5 acres in Peyton in the mid sevens, and a spectacular Woodmore home on Winding Hills in the low eights. So if you are thinking of making a move, give us a call at 719 301 3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. That's where you'll find all of our properties that are available for you now. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice. It airs every Saturday morning at a new time, 11 o'clock, right after Larry Kudlow. And if you're thinking of making a move, call Barb at 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. And you can see replays of the show on Barb's YouTube channel, Barb Has the Buyers, or listen to the podcast on all of the popular podcast platforms, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, etc. Thank you for listening. And to reach out to Barb again, call her at 719-301-3900. Thank you for listening. Thank you for hosting us today, Barb.
Thank you and have a very happy new year.